On November 30, 2013, at exactly 3:30 p.m. local time, Paul Walker and his friend Roger Rodas attended a charity event organized by the Reach Out Worldwide Foundation to raise funds for the victims of Typhoon Haiyan, which had recently devastated the Philippines.
My dream car is the Carrera GT. Porsche Carrera GT would be.
The car was later determined to have been traveling at a speed of over 160 kilometers per hour. According to eyewitnesses, the driver lost control of the vehicle. The Porsche spun violently at high speed, struck a curb, then crashed into a tree before immediately bursting into flames. According to expert findings, the actor died instantly. The official report stated that he died from the combined effects of traumatic and thermal injuries. He suffered a fractured jaw, collarbone, ribs, and pelvis. The cause of Mr. Walker's death was determined to be the combined effects of traumatic injuries and burns. His death was ruled an accident. Paul often repeated the words of George Bernard Shaw, "I want to use myself up completely before I die. Life is no brief candle to me. It is a sort of splendid torch, and I want to make it burn as brightly as possible before handing it on to future generations." He truly accomplished a great deal during his life. He helped countless people and never expected anything in return. Paul was born into the family of a businessman and a former model. It was thanks to his mother's connections that he first entered the film industry. His stepfather was a Vietnam War veteran who taught Paul and his two younger brothers how to defend themselves. Paul was always involved in sports and grew up to be exceptionally strong. According to his school friends, he could not only stand up for himself but also protect his friends whenever they needed him. His first appearance on screen came when he was just 2 years old, starring in a diaper commercial. His first movie role came at the age of 13 in the comedy Monster in the Closet, where Walker played a kind-hearted boy wearing glasses. By the time he turned 18, Paul had lost much of his interest in acting. He dreamed of becoming a marine biologist and was a huge admirer of the famous ocean explorer Jacques-Yves Cousteau. Paul enrolled in a California college to study biology, and he absolutely loved it. During his earlier work in commercials, films, and television series, Walker had managed to save some money for his education. However, it was never enough to cover his living expenses. His mother was also deeply disappointed that he had left acting after investing so much time and effort into helping build his career. These two factors eventually forced Paul to leave college and return to the film industry. His friends called him a wanderer. He was often barefoot, bought second-hand military clothing, and drove an old pickup truck that constantly broke down on the way to auditions. Because of that, Paul was frequently late for castings. But whenever he finally made it and met directors and producers, he immediately won them over. Paul's popularity gradually grew, but he still didn't have enough money. He continued living in a garage, and according to his friends, he had accumulated credit debt. His phone constantly rang with calls from bank employees demanding payments. Everything changed when he landed his first major role as Brian O'Connor in The Fast and the Furious, where he starred alongside Vin Diesel. Thanks to the unexpected success of the film, Paul Walker became famous not only in the United States but throughout the world. Paul's love for cars began in childhood thanks to his grandfather, who had once raced and often shared stories about his adventures. As a boy, Paul frequently visited his grandfather's auto repair shop and loved listening to those stories. He was passionate about cars. Even while filming The Fast and the Furious, Paul could tell you the exact size of a car's turbocharger or explain what modifications were needed to improve its performance, while some of the other actors didn't even know how to drive a manual transmission. After the success of The Fast and the Furious, Paul Walker said in one of his interviews, "To be honest, it's really strange. Not long ago, I was living in a garage and barely scraping by. It's hard to believe. Just a short time ago, I was living in a garage with almost nothing." The success of The Fast and the Furious was so overwhelming that the filmmakers decided to make a sequel, and Paul went on to star in several installments of the franchise. In 2015, Furious 7 was released. Sadly, Paul never had the chance to finish filming the iconic movie. Paul always respected and remained a close friend of his Fast and Furious co-star Tyrese Gibson. Paul had genuine relationships with everyone. You could feel his love, his energy, his fighting spirit, his sense of brotherhood, and his dedication. He was an ordinary, down-to-earth guy who never showed off despite his status, Tyrese Gibson said about his fellow Fast and Furious actor. Vin Diesel says that Paul was like a brother to him and affectionately called him Pablo. Vin even named his daughter after Paul Walker. When my daughter was born and I personally cut the umbilical cord, I realized I had to name her in honor of my friend and brother. That's exactly how Paul and I had always referred to each other since the very first Fast and Furious movie. I felt his presence beside me at that moment. Do you know why? Because back in 2008, when my wife was about to give birth to our first child, I was filming one of the Fast and Furious movies and I was incredibly nervous. One day Paul came into my trailer and asked me, "What's going on with you? Why are you so tense?" When I told him I was worried about the birth because it was my first child, he looked me straight in the eyes and firmly said, "You need to drop everything right now and go to your wife. Be there with her. Be there when your daughter is born." I listened to Paul the way only a brother could make me listen. I left the set and was there for the birth of our little girl. She had some breathing complications. I don't want to go into the details, but I would never have forgiven myself if I hadn't been there in those moments. I will always be grateful to Paul for that advice. That push he gave me allowed me to experience one of the most unforgettable moments of my life and taught me how to choose between what is truly important and everything else, even something as significant as filming the movie that made you rich and famous. Paul and I always put a piece of our souls into Fast and Furious. To me, Fast and Furious was Paul and me. My friend became part of my family's history. Just 3 months after the release of the first The Fast and the Furious, another film starring Paul Walker premiered, Joyride. It became the actor's first role in the teen thriller genre. He later appeared in films such as Timeline and Running Scared, further establishing himself as a talented and versatile actor capable of delivering outstanding performances in a wide variety of roles. Next came the Walt Disney adventure film 8 Below, with Paul Walker in the leading role. The movie became the box office leader, earning $20 million during its opening weekend. In his free time, Paul would leave Los Angeles and sometimes even the country. He traveled deep into the Amazon rainforest or went diving with sharks. Paul loved surfing. Whenever something wasn't going right in his life, he would grab his surfboard and head into the ocean. It helped him get through difficult times. Paul's love for the ocean and its creatures was confirmed when he became the host of a National Geographic documentary about great white sharks. The documentary aired in June 2010. Paul spent 11 days filming 7 great white sharks off the coast of Mexico. The expedition was led by Chris Fisher. The actor said, "I'd been to many countries and seen many amazing things, but nothing in the world compares to the ocean." He was always trying something new and lived every single day to the fullest. He never backed down and followed one simple philosophy, all or nothing. Many times throughout his career, he simply said, "I've had enough. I'm done." He was never anyone's puppet. He was the kind of person who would never do something simply because someone else told him to. Paul Walker seriously considered ending his Hollywood acting career. As the actor himself once said, "I have money, but I have absolutely no time." Paul Walker's final projects included the 2013 films Pawnshop Chronicles and Hours, as well as the 2014 film Brick Mansions. Sadly, the last movie was released only after his death. When the devastating earthquake struck Haiti in January 2010, Paul was deeply saddened and wanted to help. He made several phone calls, contacted friends who knew firefighters and doctors, assembled a team of volunteers, and traveled to Haiti to assist the victims. You know, many celebrities create charitable foundations for publicity. But that was never Paul's reason. When he founded Reach Out Worldwide, he told everyone working with him, no press. No journalists. I don't want any of that. That's not what this is about. He helped people simply because he genuinely cared. One day, while visiting a jewelry store, Paul Walker noticed a young military veteran shopping for a wedding ring with his fiancée. Paul walked over to the store manager and quietly said, "Put that young lady's ring on my bill." Being a major Hollywood star while maintaining a normal family life is an incredibly difficult challenge. As experience has shown, for many Hollywood celebrities, it's simply an impossible burden. Unfortunately, the same was true for Paul Walker. Paul's relationship with Rebecca Soteros began when they were still teenagers. They started out as friends and eventually fell in love. Rebecca spent a lot of time at the Walker family's home, and before long, the couple welcomed a daughter. However, Paul wasn't emotionally ready for marriage at the time. He wanted to be a great father and spend as much time with his family as possible, but it was precisely then that his acting career began taking off. Paul was constantly traveling across the country filming movies and would often be away for 6 months at a time. After Paul's long absences, Rebecca took their daughter and moved to Hawaii. Whenever Paul had a break between filming, he would always go to visit his daughter. Then, in 2011, as Meadow grew older, she made the decision to leave her mother and move in with her father. Rebecca has repeatedly admitted that she completely trusted Paul when it came to raising their daughter. In an interview with Jack magazine, Paul said, "My plan was to work until I turned 40, then take a step back and maybe do something other than acting. I wanted to focus on my daughter and spend all my time with her. But Meadow wanted me to stay in the movie business, and she wanted to travel around the world with me from one film set to another." Today, Meadow travels extensively, continues the charitable foundation started by her father, and has never given people any reason to spread rumors about her. Paul Walker would certainly have been proud of the daughter she has become. Paul was also an excellent driver, always focused behind the wheel. According to his colleagues, he evolved from being just an actor into a real racing driver. Paul loved racing, not illegal street racing, but professional motorsport on real racetracks. He competed as a member of the AE Performance Racing team, driving a BMW M3 E92. Roger Rodas was not only Paul's friend and racing rival, but also his business partner in the automotive company Always Evolving. Roger also served as Paul's financial advisor, and together they carried out numerous charitable projects. On the day of their deaths, the two friends were raising money for a charitable organization. Friends, leave a heartfelt comment in memory of Paul Walker, and don't forget to like this video. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.